let's talk about the first subject that we're going to talk about here. Are you guys politically active? Did you vote in 2020? I did, and I was very happy to vote and contribute to a Donald Trump loss, and I will be very happy to do it again next year in 2024. Except next year, I'm pretty sure it's not going to go the way I want. I'm pretty sure that next year, Biden is going to lose. There's lots of different reasons why I think he's going to lose. The least of which is that people seem to be abandoning him like crazy for lots of different reasons. You know, he has never been super popular to begin with. That's the thing we got to remember about Joe Biden. He was the protest vote in 2020. People were not excited to vote for Joe Biden. Nobody was. They voted for him so that we could get rid of Donald Trump. That was the reason why people held their nose. That's what it was. People held their nose and they voted for Joe Biden because he wasn't Donald Trump. And that's just not going to do it this time. Now that we've got a taste of what Biden is like as president, and we know that it's basically Biden as president is just status quo, is just kind of going back to how things were before Donald Trump. That's what Biden as president is, right? And, you know, personally, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think after 4 years of Donald Trump basically fucking screwing everything up and fucking this country up incredibly bad, maybe we need some time of just, you know, a return to normalcy. But a lot of people don't see it that way, and I really don't think that it's gonna do it this time. I really don't think that he's gonna be able to sneak by, because if you remember in 2020, even though he won the popular vote by a landslide, the popular vote he won a major landslide. What was it? 8 million more votes or something like that than Donald Trump got. But unfortunately, we live in a screwed up, backwards ass country where the actual number of people who vote for someone doesn't really matter. We calculate elections by fucking square acreage of, like, the state that is casting the vote. That's how we calculate elections. We calculate elections by, like, area. Like, you know, not by the number of people who voted for somebody. Hence the Electoral College. And in the Electoral College, Biden barely squeaked by in 2020. He won that election by somewhere around 40 to 80,000 votes in 4 swing states, which was like Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia. He won by those states. And if he didn't win all 4 of those states, he wouldn't win the election. And that's why the Donald Trump people, when they were trying to steal the fucking election, concentrated so hard on those states, on Georgia in particular, because those were all formerly red states and they became battleground states. That's how bad of a president Donald Trump was, is that he lost basically Republican strongholds like Georgia. When was the last time Georgia ever went to, like, a Democrat? Like, never, right? I don't think it's going to happen this time. I really don't. You know, we've got Biden's approval rating is hovering at 39%, which is ridiculously low for a year before the election. That's super low. I mean, if you remember, that's what Donald Trump's approval rating was at. Pretty much his entire presidency, it hovered between 42 to 39%. He didn't win his re-election either. So that's the first thing, is that people are just over it, and the not being Trump thing is not good enough. They want some actual positive change, and Biden is just not giving it to us. Now, I said a year ago, when Donald Trump filed to become president again, right? When he basically announced his presidency, I said a year ago, I'm not worried. And my rationale was this. And I remember saying this. I said that no one who voted for Biden is going to vote for Trump, right? And if things would have continued the way they were, I probably would have been right. but now I don't really believe that anymore. And the thing is, we all know that, Trump was a major fuck up. His presidency was a shit show on a daily basis. Every single day, that fucking moron did something ridiculous that got him in the headlines for being a fucking idiot. I mean, if you guys remember, there's just so many ridiculous shenanigans left and right. You guys remember Scaramucci? I'm sure it'd be fine if you forgot him. I mean, he was only like the communications director for fucking 11 days, something like that. Remember that time Donald Trump said a hurricane was going to hit Alabama, but then the National Weather Service said it wasn't going to. So he took the map that they provided and then drew on it with a Sharpie because he's too much of a fucking man baby to admit that he made a mistake. Remember that? Remember that time Donald Trump started a trade war with China? It resulted in hundreds and thousands of lost jobs and thousands of farmers basically fucking closing up shop while millions of tons of soybeans and other agricultural exports just sat there and fucking rotted because of his stupid ass trade war, basically dried up business connections that it took fucking decades to form and cost the fucking American economy somewhere in the area of $319 billion. Something like that. You remember that happening? No. Most people don't. That's the thing about it, right? Memories are short. And even though all this ridiculous, crazy shit happened, even though Donald Trump, said every racist and fucking sexist thing in the book, even though he was doing shit like banning trans people from the military, and he had a travel ban, wouldn't let Muslims into the country, and he was throwing children into fucking cages and all this other shit, endorsing Nazis and all this other ridiculous fucking horseshit. All of that stuff really doesn't matter. What matters in an election is what is going on right now when the election is held. And right now, if things continue on the way they are, it doesn't look good for Joe Biden. Inflation is still up, even though it's kind of petered out a little bit. Here's the thing about inflation, right? Even though it's not going up anymore at the same rate that it was for the last 2 years or whatnot, prices are still really high, and people are still having to work much harder and to pay way more for the exact same things that they were doing before. People remember that. That's something that hits people every goddamn day. And it doesn't matter if their president is not in the news making an idiot of himself on a daily basis. What do you think people give a shit more about? Do they care more about their money and their livelihood, or that their president isn't a moron? What do you think's going to sway people? Here's an example of that. I've got a video here. This is from Mediaite. I'm working 3 jobs. Latino voters tell CNN why they aren't happy with Biden presidency. Let's go ahead and watch this. It's only a minute long.
With your vote for Joe Biden?
Well, I didn't see something really change. And I didn't see changes so I was expecting something.
Gabriela Martinez was expecting better. Both she and her husband work. They have 1 child, 6-year-old Roman. Every month, a struggle.
Right now, I work in 3 jobs because I have to pay more things. My house is more expensive.
Dalton, Georgia bills itself the carpet capital of the world. Much of the labor here, Latino immigrants living paycheck to paycheck. Many now view the Trump years as better for their bottom line.
Some Latino community say when Trump was a president, we don't have high gas or inflation of the food.
Right.
So this is the truth.
Pocketbook concerns top of the mind, and the support of this fast-growing voting bloc critical in key battleground states.
Do you guys catch exactly what's going on there? Right? So this woman here, before I turn it off, this woman here is Latino. She's a recent immigrant, you can tell. Right? During the Trump years, people like her were being thrown in cages, deported like crazy. And not just recent immigrants, not just people who were illegal immigrants, undocumented workers or whatever, right? Not even those people. People who had been in the country for decades with green cards, who had families and businesses here, people who were basically brought over as children, who have known no other life, who don't speak Spanish, who don't have roots in whatever country that they originally were brought over from when they were like infants or whatever. Those people were being deported, right? Donald Trump, I mean, they went on a rampage. Her people were oppressed openly during the Trump years. Donald Trump, when he declared his presidency way back in 2015, that was the first thing he said. I'm sure you guys remember it. It's very famous now. They're sending rapists and murderers. I'm sure some of them are good people. You guys remember that line? He started off with the anti-Latino racism. That was like a core part of Donald Trump's platform. None of that matters. None of that matters to this woman right here. You know what this woman cares about? Jobs. She cares about jobs. She cares about the money in her pocket, the spending power she has, and she sees that shit diminishing every year, right? She sees it diminishing, and the problem is Joe Biden's not doing anything about it. First off, you can blame it on Congress. Okay, well, Congress ain't going to do fucking shit about it. But really, is he even trying? Do you see Biden going out there using the bully pulpit? That's what the president can do, right? The president has the power to basically go out and this is what the president can do. The president can go on and get on the news, get on TV anytime he wants. He can call a press conference. Every major news network will cover it. And he could talk about anything he wants, anytime he wants, right? He can do that. And he's not. And is he going out there talking about how we need to give relief to people? Right? Is he trying to say, hey, you know, inflation is too fucking high. We need to do tax cuts for the middle class. We need to raise taxes on billionaires and lower it for the middle class. Is he doing that shit? Is he saying like, hey, the child tax cut credit, we need to bring that back? Is he doing that? No, he's not doing anything like that. What's he actually doing? He's sending billions of dollars to Israel so that they can bomb people. That's what he's doing, right? And he's making jokes about his birthday candles. I don't know if you guys saw that. And it was Joe Biden's birthday the other day. And he's actually 81 years old. And they made a joke out of it because, you know, the polling also says that Joe Biden is too old to be the president. And they're focusing on that. Well, people, here's the hint, dude. People don't give a shit how old you are if you're doing the job right. Donald Trump is only 3 years younger than Joe Biden. And if you look at the man talk, he's got just as many fucking marbles rolling around upstairs as fucking Joe Biden does. But people don't talk about Donald Trump's fucking age, do they? No, they don't. Why? Because it's all about, like, impression. It gives the impression of a younger, energetic guy with a sharper mind. Even in real life, he's anything but. Donald Trump is fucking on the verge of senility also. And if he becomes president, God, please God, don't make him fucking president. But if he does, we're going to see that shit happen too. And they're going to hide it. And it's going to come out years later, just like Ronald Reagan. You know, it came out years after Reagan's presidency that his last couple of years he was fucking like senile as a fucking dime store mannequin and shit. Right? That's what's going to happen. But anyway, so no, it's like that's their response. Their response is like, oh, we'll just make a joke about the birthday candles. That'll make them look cool again. Dude, you fucking people are clueless. You need to actually get out there and start fucking doing something. Start helping people, making moves. That kind of thing. Legalize marijuana. There you go. There's something. Just anything, right? Anything to show that, hey, I'm actually, like, gonna help fucking people. Like, get some, like, relief to people. Do something about inflation. Biden's not doing that stuff. He's not doing that stuff, and it's reflecting in his poll numbers, and it's across the board. So that's the first thing. People, you know, the honeymoon is over. People are not giving him the excuse anymore. That's the first fucking reason, right? Second reason is because he's losing support like crazy because of his policies concerning, like, Israel. That's another thing. So why do I bring that up? Well, in a few battleground states like Michigan in particular, there's a very, very large number of Muslim Americans. And in 2020, those people came out. Those people came out in droves and supported Biden. They supported Biden. 65% of all the Muslim Americans supported Biden. Voted for Biden, right? Now, keep in mind, that still means that 35% of them voted for Donald Trump. Even after all of the shit Donald Trump did, even after the Muslim ban, even after all the racism and sexism, even after the overwhelming support for Israel. If you remember, Donald Trump moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, for example, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's not like Trump was on the side of the Palestinians either. Like, no, not at all, not in the slightest. And he's not. And the thing is that Muslim Americans now understand this. They understand that if Trump becomes president, it's just going to be just as bad. But think about the position these people are in. The president now is giving money to the people who are like murdering their like family members. If you have family, for example, that live in Israel, either in Palestine or the West Bank, or even in surrounding countries, you see your tax dollars going off and paying for weapons which are basically murdering these people. Are you going to support that? Are you going to vote for that? No. You're not going to vote for it. So what's going to happen? So what do you think about the position these people are in? Well, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. I might as well just not vote then. Just because they don't vote for Biden doesn't mean they're automatically going to vote for Trump. But just not voting for Biden is enough because he won by very slim margins in these battleground states. So if those people don't show up, Trump wins because Trump's people are energetic as hell. Right? They're excited. They want to get out there and vote. They're going to do everything they can to get every single person out there to vote for Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump gets just even 90% of the same people that went out and voted for him, he's got a very good chance of winning. Now, there's lots of reasons why Trump might not win. I mean, first off, he might be in prison. That's the first thing. Second thing is a lot of Donald Trump's constituents actually died because they were old. 3 years of COVID might have done a lot to thin out his ranks there, and that's just the truth. I don't mean to say that to be an asshole or anything. That's just the goddamn truth. Trump supporters are more likely to be older and they're more likely to not be vaccinated. That shit has consequences, and that really could make a difference in the election too, but somehow I doubt it. Somehow I don't think we should rely on that, thinking that that's going to make much of a difference. No, not at all. I mean, another thing to remember is that lots of people vote for the first time in every election too. Well, how many young people are going to turn out for Donald Trump? Right? How many people who are turning 18 today and seeing the state that the country's in today are going to vote for the status quo? Not very many. Not very many. And the people, the Biden supporters are not motivated. The Trump supporters are. Well, if they're motivated and you're not, then they win. So the thing is, he needs every single fucking vote. Every single vote counts. And a huge portion of the population in these states, in particular Michigan, but also a lot of these other battleground states, that is Muslim Americans, they're not going to come out this time. They're going to remember this shit. Even this thing that they brokered, this 4-day ceasefire in order to, that just hit the news today, this 4-day ceasefire so that they can get some humanitarian aid in and they can swap out some prisoners and, hostages, blah, 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 right? That's not a win. 4 days? So then they could just go back to the bombing right afterwards? No, these people want a ceasefire, and that's what you're seeing in the literal thousands of protests that are going on all around this country. People are, from Muslim Americans. No vote without a ceasefire. Well, Biden's not supporting a ceasefire, so these people aren't going to vote for him. And that could definitely tip the election, right? And that's the thing about it. It's like they're just not going to show up. Well, the Trump people are going to show up. They're going to fucking win. And think about if you were them. Do you vote for the devil that you know or the devil that's screwing you right now? And here's the bottom line. They know Trump is horrible, but Trump is not in charge now. Trump is not supporting wars that are killing their family members. Biden is. You gotta, people's memories are short. Everybody knows it's wrong. Everybody knows Donald Trump is a fucking crazy person. And he's gonna fuck this country up. And it's gonna lead to a fucking, fascist takeover. Everybody knows that. But it's not enough. It's not enough to just be, hey, I'm not him anymore. No. And some people are just don't fucking care. And they just say, well, fuck it. I'm not supporting this guy. And whatever the other guy does, we'll deal with that when that comes. And that's like very fucking bad for just the world. Sucks, it's horrible, but can you blame these people? Can you blame them? Think about what they have to put up with, right? I mean, really, that's the other thing. The third reason, so that's 2 reasons there, right? Support is falling off like crazy. People want change. The last reason why I think it's stacked against Biden this time. The last reason being that there's too many other people running that will basically subtract away from him. Now, you always have in every election, you always have the Green Party and you always have the Libertarian Party, and they're kind of like to be expected. They're sort of non-entities. They do sort of leech off a little bit here and there, but it's usually not enough. I think the Green Party in particular is useless. The Green Party's fucking useless. I'm sorry. I used to vote Green. Around 2000, I voted Green. And they're just not a serious party, in my opinion, anymore. They've really not done anything or accomplished anything in 20 years. And that's a subject for a whole nother video. But they can siphon off a couple of votes here and there. People who are super dissatisfied, I guess is the right word, with the Democratic Party. Well, here's a more progressive alternative. And yeah, maybe they don't have a chance of winning, but if you want to go cast a protest vote, well, there you go. But it's not just the Green Party this time. It's not just Jill Stein. You also have Cornel West running as an independent. You got RFK Jr. running as an independent. Both of those people were originally going to go for the Democratic nomination and then realized they had no fucking chance. So each one of those guys will siphon off a little bit more. And this matters. This matters because, once again, Biden only won by, I think it was between 40 to 80,000 votes. It was a very slim number. 80,000 people is like nothing. That's like not even my town here is like more than 80,000 people. That's like one town, right? One moderately sized town, I guess. Think about that. One town going a certain way sets the future of the entire country on one path or another. That's how tight these elections are. And having 3 choices on one side, and then here's the other thing, right? There's no other candidates which may subtract from Donald Trump, right? Now, I did read a couple of things saying that, well, RFK might take a few votes away from Donald Trump, but do you really think so? Do you really think that anybody who voted for Donald Trump and who wants Donald Trump to be president is going to then switch to RFK? Like, why? Why would they? Right? These are people who for the last, goddamn, was 2016, right? So that's, 7 years ago now? 7 years. These people have basically been in a cult. These are people who still go to his fucking rallies. The guy's been having rallies for 7 years straight. They're still showing up at him. Maybe they're not as packed as they used to be, but they're still there. These are people that are still wearing the t-shirts. They're still putting flags up in their yards. They never took them down for 7 years. Do you really think they're going to suddenly switch to like another guy because what? Why? Because he's an anti-vaxxer? Is that why? Like, no. They're not going to abandon Trump now. The people who abandoned Trump, they already did. Even with that, even with the shrinking of Donald Trump's base, he still has roughly, 33% of Republicans? And then do you think the rest of the Republican Party is just going to, vote for Joe Biden? No. They'll vote for Donald Trump again. No. Now there's some Republicans, I guess, who will never vote for Trump. But it's not very many. Not very many at all, especially when every single person who's running against Trump has to, is basically kissing his ass. I don't know if did you guys watch any of the Republican debates? I really didn't. But I did see one little snippet where in the very first Republican debate, where they asked a question. Now remember, Donald Trump didn't go to these debates. He sat them all out. Why should he go? He's 50 points ahead. It doesn't make any sense for him to go. But they asked a question of everybody up on that stage, and they said, hey, if Donald Trump gets the nominee, will you support him? And every single one of those people raised their hands because they're a bunch of fucking cowards. Because they all know they don't have a chance. The only person who actually had a chance of winning is Ron DeSantis, and now it's too late. The only reason, like, Ron DeSantis knows the only way that he's ever going to be president is if Donald Trump goes to jail. That's it. If Donald Trump goes to prison, then yeah, maybe he's got a chance. But every single one of those fucking cowards sat there and raised their hands and basically said, yes, I will support Donald Trump, even though I'm running against him. Even though I'm talking shit about him right here on this stage, I will support him because they're cowards. They're fucking cowards because they know that's where the base is. They know that's where the Republican base is. So it's all basically just it's all just a kabuki theater is what it is. It's a dog and pony show. And every single one of those people know that they're going to drop out. Vivek Ramaswamy and fucking Chris Christie and fucking Ron DeSantis, each one of those fucking pansy-ass morons knows that they've got zero chance of actually beating Donald Trump. And I really think they're all just hanging in there with the expectation that Trump is going to go to jail. And then suddenly somebody might be like, oh, okay, well, we got to choose somebody else. That's what it is. They're fucking cowards. So, with this in mind, I am now resolved that I'm going to be emotionally detached from this next election. And, I'm still going to make videos about it. I'm still going to tell people why you should vote. And I'm still going to vote for Joe Biden. I am. I'm going to vote for Joe Biden because I know logically in my brain that is the best course of action for this country and for the world. I know that defeating Donald Trump is imperative for basically the preservation of the United States. In order to keep us from falling into a fascist hellhole, we cannot allow Donald Trump to become president. So I'm still going to do my best. I'm still going to make videos, and I'm still going to, donate money and stuff. Maybe I might even do some phone banking and shit like that. But I know that we're fighting a losing battle. And I know it's because most people aren't going to go for it. Most people are not going to hold their nose this time. And you know what? Can you blame them? I mean, I'm not going to give anybody any shit for not voting. Every time there's an election, people always say, oh, both sides are the same, blah, blah, blah. That same fucking bullshit always comes up. And it's like, I always get angry at that. Not this time. It's like, okay, whatever. You think whatever you want. All I can really do is express my opinion here and hope that people agree with me. That's really it. If you really care about the country, folks, if you really care about preserving democracy and about trying to do something to help people and to help the environment and to help our country and the world, then you know who should be president. You know that Trump should not be allowed within 50 feet of that Oval Office. Because we have already seen what happens with him, and we already know what he's planning. Right? We already know what they've got. And I guess the question comes down to, well, do you really think it's worth it? I hope so. I think it is, but I understand that most people aren't. I understand that most people have day-to-day concerns about their money, their livelihood, and they don't remember. They don't care. They don't remember and they don't care about all the ridiculous shit that happened 4 years ago. 4 years ago might as well be 100 years ago. They care about what's going on right here and right now. And if Biden doesn't get his shit together, he's going to lose. I'm not going to be sitting there sweaty, refreshing the fucking browser window, checking the electoral college counts this time. No, not at all. I'm keeping myself emotionally divorced from what's going on. And I'm already kind of resolved to the fact that the United States is probably going to fall apart within my lifetime. Pretty sure that's going to happen. I just thought it would happen when I was 70, and not next year. Anyway, please go out and vote, folks. Hello, folks. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.